Welcome to our panel, Alternatives to Incarceration, Career Pathways. And I have the most phenomenal group of panelists here that I'm so excited for you to get to know. I've got Kelly Lobianco, who's the director of LA County Department of Economic Opportunity. I've got Norma Edith Garcia Gonzalez, who is the director of LA County Department of Parks and Recs. We've got Candace Newman, the founder and CEO of Live Out Live, and Joseph Wise Wiley, the division director of Workforce and Housing at JCOD. So just to get us started as we kick off, I would love to have each of you just take a minute and just tell us a little bit about yourself and what brought you here.
Yeah.
You know, to your roles, to this LA, all of that goes with it. Well, let's start with you, Kelly.
Awesome. Oh, hello. Good morning, everyone. I'm so happy to be here with you all on this beautiful stage at Together We Thrive with the Justice, Care, and Opportunities Department. My name is Kelly Lobianco, and I'm the director of the LA County Department of Economic Opportunity. We share a bond with JCOD because we are two new departments within LA County. There's about 40 departments, and we were both created about 3 years ago. So we've really worked together to build these new departments and create strong missions and visions and have a lot of synergies together. The Department of Economic Opportunity is the county's economic development agency. And in short, that means we support workers, businesses, and communities. We're here to support inclusive and sustainable growth in the region and make sure there's opportunity and mobility for everyone. So we run the county's public workforce system, job centers that offer no-cost hiring and training, an Office of Small Business that supports startup and growth for entrepreneurs, and we also do community building. We take community spaces and revitalize them for community-serving use. So you'll see us creating housing and creating innovation spaces and new commercial spaces and looking at our commercial corridors for revitalization. So we love to work with JCOD. We love to make sure that we are supporting folks that have been justice impacted and connecting to all of the range of supports and services that we offer. And I guess I will go ahead and stop there and pass it over to Norma.
Good morning, buenos dias. My name is Norma E. Garcia Gonzalez, and I am honored to serve as the director of the County of Los Angeles Department of Parks and Recreation. I'll talk a little bit about my department and then just introduce myself personally. The Department of Parks and Recreation has 183 parks located in every community throughout Los Angeles County. And we are the largest employer of youth in the county, public and private, as well as the largest employer of second chance employees. So our parks, from our maintenance workers to our recreation staff, to our crafts, through our professional administrative staff, really reflect the community in which they serve. The critical role by having really people with lived experience at our parks is that we are providing services that really support everyday lives of community members, especially those who struggle every day. We have over 60 facilities that provide free, affordable after-school program. Why? Because our workforce needs safe spaces for children to be. And in turn, we know that if children are in after-school, out-of-school programs that are nurturing, they're more likely to go to college, and have higher incomes. And there's a strong correlation in regards to the programming, in regards to children outcomes. Two, we have our teen centers. We have over 16 teen centers located in communities that have high violence scores, that have high scores where youth are experimenting with drugs. We provide safe spaces so that youth are there from 3 to 9 o'clock. And this year, we are providing free supper, hot meal for every teen in our program because we know if they're in our park, they are safe. And lastly, we also provide really affordable youth sports. We know that sports are the #1 prevention program for Black and brown boys. And so if they're engaged in a park activity, they have a mentor. These have really large, really impacts in their lives. And lastly, I was one of those youth, and that's why I love working with both Callie and Judge Songhai. I was that 14-year-old kid that was hanging out, and someone gave me a job at the age of 14. It bought my Vans, it bought my Jordache jeans. But then it paid for my community college, it paid for UCLA, and it gave me the opportunity to be a director that has this lived experience, that cares about our communities. So I'm so grateful to be here on this stage.
Great.
Hello, everyone. My name is Candace Newman, and I am the CEO and founder of Live Out Live. I'm also an LA-based live event concert producer and promoter. LA Live, to share a little bit more about Live Out Live, it is an organization. Live Out Live Agency is a booking and touring agency that is inspired both by my journey as a Black woman working in the live concert business. I'm a former live event booking, touring executive at Live Nation of 12 years, where I had to navigate a lot of hurdles when it comes to navigating the corporate structure in the live event industry. The music industry is a vast, exciting industry, but the live concert industry is a very marginalized sector that is equally exciting and but equally hard to access. And so what I have done is made it my mission to create pathways and access for system-impacted youth and underrepresented diverse professionals to gain access into the live concert business, not only providing them and equipping them with education and resources and tools so that they have knowledge and access by way of just their own excellence to get into the industry, but also using my network and leveraging my relationships that I've already created within the network, within the industry, to work with the organizations and the companies to work on their systems and their pathways and how they create access into their organizations by loosening up their systems. For example, if you work in the live events industry, you can work in accounting, but if you're not handling money, there's no need for you to have an accounting degree or a background in that. If you're building a stage or producing or doing any type of production, lighting, sound, technology, those are all skill-based roles that anyone could do. And it's about the lack of access for our people. So what I have done is set out to create access and opportunity in the live music industry by way of my background, not only working in the live concert business as a Black woman, but also being system impacted as a youth here in Los Angeles. I too grew up in the foster care system, navigating that. So I am not only here as representation of what you all could be, but also someone that is working hard to make an impact for the next generation and for the future of you all as well. So thank you for having me, and I'm excited to share a little bit more.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Joseph Wise-Wiley, and I oversee all of our workforce and housing programs at JCOD. I've been doing workforce for justice involved individuals for about a decade now, and really got inspired by seeing how much employment makes a difference in people's lives. It really is one of the #1 contributing factors to reducing recidivism. If people are working, they are being able to provide for their families, provide for themselves, and provide for the communities. So I got really passionate about it and have been able to really continue working with it and been blessed to continue working in the field for the past 10 years. I actually started at Chrysalis as an employment specialist and really was able to kind of have that one-on-one time with clients and really understand what their needs were and how they need extra support every step of the way when being able to go through different job trainings. And it's not just about the training itself, it's about all the extra support that they need, and I've really carried that with me for the past 10 years. Our biggest workforce program right now is Sector. It stands for the Skills and Experience for the Careers of Tomorrow. We work with about 8 different community-based organizations, all the way from Antelope Valley all the way down here, to provide job readiness, training, and then link participants to trainings in high-growth sectors. Everything from truck driving to entertainment to nursing licenses And not only do we pay the trainings, we pay for stipends so that they can be economically independent as they go through the training. We also, through our TPA and CFCI dollars, fund other workforce programs like Los Angeles and a few other entertainment ones. So we're really, really focused on being able to provide this kind of experience to participants so that they can become economically independent.
Wow, did I not? Well, let's hear for Joseph, too. I think we have a very, very diverse panel. Just listening to each of you, I'm really excited for this conversation. My name is Marjorie Morrison. I'm in the field of mental health, which I always say mental health is not one thing. But can you hear me? Sorry. But I actually grew up here in LA, and as I was just saying backstage, I now live in New York City, so I don't know what they say, the left coast, the right coast, or whatever. But now I could say I've lived on both coasts. But I spent a lot of time here doing inpatient care in San Diego, Children's Hospital with at-risk families. I spent many years working with the Marine Corps, building out a proactive mandatory counseling program, founded a nonprofit called Psych Armor, founded a company called Psych Hub that does mental health education, and now I'm in the workforce mental health space with SHRM, which is the largest human resource association in the world with over 340,000 members. So the HR professionals that represent small, medium, and large companies in urban, suburban, and rural America. So really across all of it. And I got fortunate to get here through a partnership with SHRM Foundation and JCOD, and just learning so much about this space. And as you all know that are in it, it's so inspiring, and I feel so passionate about it. And every time I meet another person that comes from the criminal justice space, and there's all these different ways people call it, but I feel like I just keep learning more and more, and the innovation is so exciting. So that's what we're gonna talk about today, is really just working with our panelists, and then we're going to try to save some time, hopefully, for some Q&A. That was not on the agenda, but I'm just kind of saying it because I feel like this is such a great group. It shouldn't just be, me that gets to ask the questions. But I want to start with you, Candace. So you took a different path. And first of all, thank you for sharing your own lived experience in this. And I just feel like leading with humility is such a beautiful way to start anything. I just want you to know that I can see my side view, and we fought with these microphones in the back, and it's my back version is not very good. So bringing the entertainment industry into this conversation, why do you believe access to creative careers can be such a powerful intervention for justice-impacted youth?
Just speaking for me personally, as a youth navigating the foster care system growing up, I was deeply connected with music. I was deeply connected with the arts, but I just didn't have access to it. I didn't know how to get to it, right? I knew that I was passionate about it, but I didn't know how I was going to pursue getting close to it or pursue a career pathway to working in music. So I think it's really important to break barriers down for you to have access, because naturally and innately we already have that creative instinct in us, and also creating careers in that industry organically allows us to have a voice and identity, and allowed me to see myself more than just a case number or more than just someone that was navigating a system, but being really empowered in a role, being trusted with something. So I think it really changes it changed how I identified myself, and it gave me a voice and empowered me to do great things. And so I think that's the importance of the work that I'm doing and breaking down the barriers for creatives, because creatively, a lot of youth innately have that skill set in them, and they innately want to carry that out, but they don't have a medium to do that. So creating opportunities for them to do that and eventually build a career and make money off of it is the ultimate goal.
Which is so great. What about barriers? Do you see barriers of entry for people getting into it? And then, you founded the organization. So is that one of your main goals?
Yeah. So some of the barriers was simply not knowing anyone in the industry, right, and not having proximity to someone who is doing the work that I aspire to do. Another barrier is just not knowing the fancy terminology and the lingo and the players, right? Like maybe you don't know anyone, but you don't know anything about the inner workings of the ecosystem in the industry. And another one is the system, right? The companies and the organizations that have these structures in place that safeguard access into the industry. And so dropping those barriers by giving young people free access to resources, tools, and knowledge, mentorship, internships that are going to pay them and help empower them in this industry are ways to kind of like create access.
That's so great because you also, like, this was such a passion for you, and you've learned it, you've lived it by, it sounds like, your time at Live Nation. You saw the hurdles,
Yes.
and that to you was opportunity. And
I experienced the hurdles within the organization, right? It was very gate-kept. If I was not sponsored or mentored by someone internally, then I didn't have an upward trajectory in my succession plan. And likely I wasn't sponsored or mentored by someone because I didn't look like most of the executives who likely would mentor or sponsor someone. So I had to advocate for myself a lot. I had to find mentors outside of the organization that would help give me wise counsel so that I knew how to advocate for myself better. And that's how I gained my IP and gained the information and gained the confidence that I needed in order to step out and not only execute live events, concerts, and tours on my own. I was able to prove to myself that I can do that without Live Nation's resources. So I was able to do that. But then also, while I was there, again, I saw a void, and I'm here to fill that void now. I have a responsibility now, not only to my community, but to my younger self.
I love that. You know, she mentioned in her introduction that she's here to make it easy for everybody, right? And I think what's so important about what you said is confidence. And we can never underestimate that value of confidence. And for you, you earned your confidence. You can't buy it, you have to earn it, right? And you have to go through really hard times,
Yes.
come out of it, and that gives you that confidence. So I love that, you know, none of our paths are ever linear, that's just kind of BS, but I love how yours has been a steady kind of increase. So Kelly, I'm gonna switch over to you because you actually mentioned that you even work with entrepreneurs and all of that. You're working from the county level system side. So why do you think it's so important to view workforce development as an alternative to incarceration rather than something that comes after incarceration?
Yeah, thank you for that question. So when we think about economic development and economic success in our department, sometimes you'll hear people saying like, economic growth, you'll hear GDP or employment rates, and that's like indicators of a good economy. But one of the ways that we've internalized this as a public agency that's here to serve our communities is that we really do need inclusive and sustainable growth. Like I said, that offers opportunity and mobility for everyone. And what that means is that we, in an economy like ours, we want people to invest here, but we don't need to go hire elsewhere. So all the investment that's coming into LA County that grows and grows and grows, it should reinvest in our own community members. We have 10 million people in Los Angeles County, speak 200 languages, an incredibly diverse and skilled community. We have every asset that we need to support our small businesses, which there are over 1 million, or Hollywood or aerospace or healthcare or tech or Hollywood, right? We have everything that we need here. And so a department like ours wants to make sure that every single community member has what they need, where they need it, at the level they need it to thrive and to engage in our economy and be able to have, family sustaining wages, the dignity of a great job and career, and really contribute. So when we think about, how we marshal the resources of the county, we want to drive those to those that need it most. And we know that in our department, we support individuals from 14 to whenever they stop working. And if you start to invest in youth, as Norma said, we partner with the Parks Department. I think we place over 400 to 500 young adults, 14 to 24 every year with their paid work experiences at parks, but we support nearly 10,000 young adults in their first work experience. We know that experience, getting money in pocket, getting connected to mentors, being part of a job, seeing themselves in different career pathways, pays dividends not only for their individual life, but it pays dividends for our economy. Like, that is proof in the numbers. But we know that at every part of someone's journey, they may need support, because we still think that aim, that job, that grounding, that stability, that mobility opportunity is necessary. So our department invests in programs like Youth at Work that offer individuals who may be system impacted or not access to their first paid work experience. We, through our America's Job Centers of California, offer job training with great partners in the region, whether it's community colleges or labor organizations or apprenticeship pathways that give people that leg up. And we prioritize individuals that have been system impacted for those opportunities. And we embed partners within our job centers, like the probation department, so that when someone comes and is seeking to transform their own life, it helps mitigate some of their past system experiences or things that they are on the hook for. And so for us, it's really not just about, it is about an alternative to incarceration, but if you are system impacted, there's a place for you throughout it. And there's a prioritization of our department, because we think that lived experiences are good for you and for our economy. And one thing I just want to mention, as a county employer, the county employs 110, maybe 120,000 people. We hire for everything. And we aspire to be a fair chance hiring employer. Norma mentioned, and she can talk a little bit more about being a second chance hiring employer and being one of the best in the county, but making sure not only that we are creating pathways into a great job that has a pension and has pathways like public sector employment, but valuing lived experience just as much as we've valued education or, in degrees or county experience itself. That's really, really important, and we hope to serve as a model for how other employers in the region can do it too.
Wow, Kelly, you really threw out a lot of very powerful stats there, from the amount of people that you place, and just think about all the lives you're touching and creating a pathway in a direction that perhaps, had you not been there, you would have had a different one. You mentioned some of the partnerships like the community colleges. Mm-hmm. What other partnerships have been really beneficial, or like the Parks and Recs? Have there been some that have been standouts?
Yeah, actually, because Joe just mentioned this, one of the partnerships that we have, and Aaron was going to be here with us, and I think some folks from Los Angeles may be in the room with us today, is we're always looking at sort of like a dual customer approach. That's the best way to make something happen. What does the individual need, the worker need, and what does the business need, and how can we best match them? And I think Los Angeles is a beautiful example where they are in the Antelope Valley. They are working with young adults who are system impacted. They're training folks on classic cars for manufacturing careers that exist in the Antelope Valley. So they have nearly 100% hiring rate into Lockheed and Northrop and Aerospace Valley, and that is a program that I know is invested in through the Department of Economic Opportunity, through our high road training partnerships, and also through JCOD. But those are the kind of models where folks in the Antelope Valley, those aerospace and defense organizations, need really qualified individuals for their manufacturing careers and products, and going and investing in the local community and making sure that they have first access to those opportunities and all the surrounding supports is the kind of thing that we think is the best practice.
Any thought about how you decide who to partner with? How do you get access to it? Are there barriers that you've had about getting these partnerships?
So the department, we don't deliver services ourselves. We're kind of like a policy, and I guess what we know that we have to work with hundreds and hundreds of partners, and because that is where we have trusted relationships with community members, and they have the skills to deliver direct services. So for us, our America's Job Centers of California are run by community-based organizations. We see, I think, over 130,000 people walk into the doors of those organizations every year. We train nearly 10,000 individuals in every high growth and opportunity sector, and all of those are through the partnerships that I mentioned. You know, we have a partnership with the Hospitality Training Academy with registered pre-apprenticeships and apprenticeships into the hospitality sector. We have partnerships with West LA College on early education and apprenticeship pathways for assistant teachers. I guess to me, like, our work is impossible without partners. So, like, if you're a CBO community-based organization, like, there are spaces to work with all of our departments here on the delivery of services for the county.
It's great. And going back to your comment about how many languages did you
It's
say
over 200 in LA.
So when you have over 200 languages in one county, you need to have a lot of different kinds of partnerships so that they all get represented and can find the places that they could thrive. So I love that. Norma, are you ready? Let's go over to you. I am just like in awe at some of the stats that you threw out at the very beginning, and it's just the incredible role that you guys play. So your work brings in the public sector and the community infrastructure. So how can the parks and public spaces become part of re-entry, if you will, for a prevention solution?
Let me share a powerful story. I have been in the county system for over 20 years. And I will say to you, there's those of us that are always thinking about how to crack different nuts. And I'm one of those. For a long time, I had worked with the conservation corps throughout Los Angeles County. And this is before there was a Kelly in the Department of Economic Opportunity. But the conservation corps take youth who haven't graduated from high school, who need job skills. And I actually, when I was a planning and development deputy director, I got the board of supervisors to allow me delegated authority to hire conservation corps to help our park system. And you heard my story, right? I was that 14-year-old that got tapped on the shoulder and got a job, which changed my life. So I carry with me that jobs do change lives. We employ all of these conservation corps kids for years to work in our parks. But yet, we could never get them a full-time job as a grounds maintenance worker. So I called a meeting with the LA Conservation Corps Executive Director, Wendy, with Bruce Saito from the California Conservation Corps, Dan Knapp from Long Beach, and Norma from the San Gabriel Valley Conservation Corps, and I said, let's come together. We open our job bulletin for grounds maintenance workers on this date. We want to get your kids ready because we know they have experience working at our parks to apply for our full-time jobs. So we thought we had a plan. We opened the job bulletin, and not one of the Conservation Corps kids were able to successfully get a full-time job as a grounds maintenance worker one with LA County Parks. And I knew that the system was not there to support youth. So we looked at what happened. Our kids smoked pot, they didn't fill out the application. They had a prior something in the record. And that was really great questions because we're like, we all work to get these jobs. And so we're like, okay, we've got to peel the onion deeper. So we became the first department to basically say, look, let's try to get the kids, and let's try to get them in a program so that we can get them at the priority list. Let's get them, let's help them with resume writing. We just did a focus group. I want to end with this story. And I will not mention this youth's name, but he came out of the Conservation Corps in Long Beach. He was one of the first kids, and I say kids, young adult, that got a job, second chance with LA County. With his first paycheck, he said he bought his mom a bed. I will never forget that. I will never forget. And this kid now, and I see him, and every time I see him, I'm like, what job are you applying for next? He's gotten 3 promotions.
Wow.
We gave him a chance. And you don't know how many thank you cards people in the community will say this kid's name and say, he is such a delight in our parks. So I've realized that when you crack the nut, you roll up your sleeves, and you just don't give up, good things happen. And jobs, and we now know that he moved his mom out of their apartment. That was not a healthy living experience for their family. And he's now a father. And that's what jobs can do for kids if we just give them that chance.
It's just so interesting. Yeah.
Yeah, sorry.
I am so glad that you guys clapped, because I think we're clapping for a few different things. One of them was your passion and perseverance to not accept the status quo. And you had this, I know, I love it. I almost feel bad for Joseph, because the 3 of you are like, breaking glass with everything you do. And I really think we have to call out the fact that you saw the same as Kelly talked about partnership, the need to partner, and you took it to the finish line, but even found that that wasn't enough, and then needed to go back and sort of reevaluate, how things were. And I think that just gives us a lot of, just a lot of hope. And you shared one story, and I imagine there's many, many more like that. So you're not just, you believe in it. You show up every day really believing that employment can save a life, and you can give people places and spaces to do it. So thank you so much. Joseph, are you ready? I
don't know.
My gosh, you've got like some, not to be competitive, but like these women they're no joke. So you're the one person I've knew on this panel and have had the pleasure of working with you. And you're helping to coordinate the county's Care First approach, which from your vantage point, how would you say that workforce, like access to jobs and workforce, is shaping LA County's broader justice reform strategy?
Yeah, I think in the current times that we're in, a huge concern is community safety. And one thing that I've heard the judge say over and over again is workforce helps improve community safety. Because, like I was kind of speaking about earlier, when people are working, they're off the streets. When people are working, they're able to provide for their family. Mm-hmm. They're not desperate. They're not in situations that would force them to make decisions that they may not normally take. And so workforce is a core component of Care First, because you're providing people who maybe never had the opportunity before an opportunity to become productive members of their communities and to really gain the skills, the confidence, the knowledge to secure employment that will really help provide for themselves and their families. Most importantly, I mean, when you talk to these individuals, they're not proud of what they did. They're not showing off that they committed these acts. They very much want an opportunity and the support from people who care about them, and to be able to undo the harm that they did. Even in sector, it's kind of crazy. our number one job training is substance use disorder counselor and certified peer support specialist. Because it's these individuals who want to get back to their communities, who want to become mental health advocates, who want to become mental health professionals, who want to become certified peer support specialists so that they can give back and mentor people. So really, they're passionate about gaining the work experience to get jobs where they can really undo the harm that they've done.
That's such an interesting way to look at it, too. That lived experience, it's really two-pronged, right? To your point, it feels good to give back, but at the same time, for the other person that's receiving it, it's so beneficial because nothing feels better than knowing that somebody can relate to you and they understand you, and nobody's lived in your exact shoes, but they can empathize with what you've been through. So I love those kinds of programs because everybody wins.
Yeah.
So, but just on the topic of partnerships before we move on, how has that been for you? What's the value of partnership at JCOD, and how has that worked?
Partnerships are essential. Because again, the times that we're in right now, we are very much in a budget crunch, just to be blunt about it, particularly in workforce, particularly in mental health services, particularly in services for the communities that we serve. So partnerships are so vital to be able to leverage the little bits and pieces that we have. I think traditionally in the county, there's this mindset of scarcity, that we have to fight each other for the little that there is. But I love that we're moving towards more of a partnership to like, hey, I have this little bit of funding, you have this little bit of funding, let's work together. If DMH has people that can come on our sites and provide mental health services, if DPS can provide substance use counseling services on site at our houses instead of us having to provide additional funds, that lets us be able to have more beds because we're not spending the money on the mental health services or the substance abuse services because we're partnering with other county providers. So really, partnerships are key in order to leverage every last bit of funding that there is and provide wraparound services to the clients in a really holistic way.
I love it, and we think we've shown that nobody can do anything alone, but together so much can be done. So I'm going to switch a little bit over to mentorship because I think that is so important, and many of you have already shared that somebody has, given you opportunities or whatnot, and that has kind of allowed you to be on your track. So, Candace, starting with you, your mentorship model seems to build both confidence and connection. So, what have you found the most effective in helping participants rebuild self-worth and professional identity?
I guess starting with young people and exploring where their interests are and what is it that they want to do. Even if they're not sure, just kind of diving in with them and asking about that. And then partnering them with mentors in my network who are real professionals, who are doing the work that they're aspiring to do, who maybe look like them, who maybe come from backgrounds like them, so that takes away that edge. Job shadowing opportunities are other mentorship opportunities that we provide so that they can actually see themselves doing the work, be trusted to do the work, shadow behind someone who's actively doing the work, and they can actually, participate in that experience. And just demystifying the idea that they're not worthy of doing it, trusting them and empowering them in that way. So mentorship is just essentially that, making sure that the representation is there, making sure the access is there by way of others.
Do you have any stories, without sharing anyone's name, and I didn't tell her I was asking her this, do you have any stories of ones that you felt like, wow, this was really powerful and I was able to mentor someone, or we at Live Out Live were able to?
Oh man, there's so many stories, so many great stories of young people who want to get into the industry and they feel defeated because of not believing in themselves and not, again, knowing anyone or having that direct access, not even being in the city of Los Angeles. That's another huge barrier for people who are outside of our county and outside of access to the entertainment industry, who just yearn to be in the industry, giving them access by way of virtual opportunities, connecting them and pairing them with resources in their town and their state, connecting them with mentors who work in the industry who are accessible to them in their town and their state. So, I could come up with a specific example, but I think most importantly, people who just don't even have that direct access to even LA.
So it's interesting. So you've also figured out how to reach people where they are.
Absolutely.
Meet them where they're at. And if they aren't necessarily right here, you can do it virtually, which opens up the scope even more of what you can do.
Yes, because the entertainment industry is all over the world.
Right.
So you want to give them access to where they are.
I love that. Norma, your programs reach young people in their own neighborhoods. So how does healing happen through community employment and public service?
Let me share another story that starts not so good, but I think you'll see that.
Sorry.
I called Kelly a couple weeks ago. We had a shooting at our park. I got a call about 8:40 at night in one of our teen centers. There was a shooting about 20 feet outside our teen centers. One of our teens who goes to our teen center religiously because it depends on the safety of the building, the staff, and the food, was outside being met by the drug supplier. I don't know the exact details, and I don't want to share the exact details, or can't share the exact details. But there was a shootout. Our teen was hit in the stomach, and the other person passed away. I actually arrived about 15 minutes because I was actually really close. And when there's an investigation in a park, you've got to sit there until homicide and everybody arrives. And I sat with my entire team waiting for everybody to be interviewed. A lot of tears, shaking. But what I didn't share with you, Kelly, is one of our leads for our teen center has a full-time job. And he's in charge of our teen center as a part-time job because he cares so much about those youth. The two 19 and 20-year-olds that were part of that teen center team are former Youth at Work kids that we have now hired onto our department. And we actually sat together till 3 o'clock in the morning, and they all talked about how important jobs are to our teens. What I found out was that teenager had been seeking and looking for a job. The tough part was that he didn't have a stable home. He didn't have stable technology to access emails when he got jobs or when they asked for applications. And so, as we were dealing with this trauma, we were also trying to think about, it was a learning experience for all of us in regards to how we traditionally think about jobs. But we know that these teens are seeking opportunities to belong and to take care of themselves. So, I'm so grateful for Kelly, my colleague, because I called her. I think we both shed some tears, and we're going to sit and form a focus group with our teams so we can crack this nut. But I will say, I think you've mentioned jobs do help youth, and they're hungry for them. And so we need to figure out, and one of the things that I'm working with my staff is when a teen comes to you and says, I need the help, we have to be there and navigate what type of help they need, because every single youth will be in a different situation. So I just appreciate this panel and just want to let you know that we are living it daily with the youth that we're dealing with and that we're trying to help.
Thank you so much, Norma. I think you're leading with heart. And I think, can we all feel that? With all of these panelists, like really just waking up every day and really truly believing in the work that we do. So continuing on the theme, Joseph, of heart. I understand, and please help us explain, that at JCOD, you're using this care and healing into your work. That's part of the metrics. So it's not just like jobs, but it's actually wellness outcomes as well. Can you share a little bit about that with us?
Yeah, we really look at the kind of whole person approach because it's not just about getting that job, it's about keeping that job. And you're not going to be able to keep that job if you're experiencing relapse, if you lose your housing, if something triggering happens in a life event and you start to spiral. So really everything that we invest in our contracts and in our programs is not just about the job outcome, it's also about the mental health outcome, the substance use outcome, and overall well-being. So every single one of our providers has a certified peer support specialist who the person can call if they're starting to relapse, and they can do kind of a care emergency plan of, okay, you know you're about to go and buy drugs, what can we do to prevent that? We have LCSWs at every site so that they can provide mental health counseling sessions.
Amazing.
We work with them up to a year after they gain their first job and provide those kind of retention services, because maybe there was a triggering experience at work and that they're starting to spiral and they just want to quit. So that they can call up their certified peer support specialist or their career coach, even though that they've been working for 6 months, they're still enrolled in the program, so they still can receive those kind of supportive services, because nothing exists in a vacuum. And stuff that happens outside of work is going to impact your work, and stuff that happens at work is going to impact your real life. And we just want to make sure that the person feels fully supported, not just on their way to a job, but even afterwards.
That's great. I mean, you're really thinking about the whole person. Kelly, from your systems perspective, so how can policy and funding structures make space for this kind of healing-centered whole person work?
Yeah, thank you for that question. And I kind of want to tie it to some of what my peers here have mentioned. Like, when I said that we have to think about like our economy differently and what economic success looks like, and think about it differently, I didn't really say what the alternative to like the GDP and employment is, but I think you heard it from this group. Like, economic success is also community well-being. It's reducing the disproportionality in employment outcomes. It is generational wealth building in families and spaces. It is anti-displacement. And so when you start thinking about economic success through that lens, and I am proud to work for a county that does, partnership is required because we are centering our community members, and in this conversation, sort of workers and businesses, and the real impacts that we can see and they perceive as our collective outcomes of interest. We have to work together. And we have to make it easier for community members to access services, whether it's through the Department of Economic Opportunity or JCOD or Parks or through our partners. And so we have to work differently so we see those outcomes together. And so I think that's changed the way we think about the kinds of solutions that we provide from our respective seats. When I think about 10 years ago in workforce development, we might have thought, and the way our funding was structured and all of that, there's a lot of restrictions that I think from the inside we're trying to beat at and crack the nut and think about it differently. Funding making a training tuition free was like a game changer. We will not charge anyone for their books or for the classroom time, and then everyone will come and they will get the skills they need and they will get that job. But I think it was a limited frame in what people really need to transform their lives, what the opportunity cost someone might have for going from where they are to where they want to be. And I think as soon as you change that lens, we start to think about the things that we all have to provide collectively from our different seats to make sure that people can have the agency to make the changes that are bettering their own lives in a system that has been a system of harm for them, not a system of care, even if that's where we are hoping to get to. So for me, that looks like in a workforce training program, like yes, like no cost tuition. If the government can come in and pay for that, great. And through our partners, that takes a little bit of the financial burden off. But also, we're thinking about how do you invest in mentorship as part of the program? How are we supporting prioritization in our outreach to make sure that the folks who need it most get into the programs and are the first in the seats? How are we offering lots of different kinds of flexible cash assistance? Maybe stipends while you're in a program, but also access to, we launched a program called the Worker Equity Fund, so people can tap into one-time $1,500 cash for rent or for childcare, fix their car, or something that's happening that would force them to not be able to complete a program or a service or whatever they're working on. And then it really allows us to stick with them over time so that they get that job, they get that better job. I don't know, I know that's sort of like a long way of saying, we have to think differently at government about what our jobs mean. We might be the workforce development department, but that doesn't mean we just fund training. We might be funding something through JCOD or through parks to make sure that we have that good job outcome, because we realize that people have complex lives and we need to build as much agency into the framework as possible.
I love that. You're thinking about, you're really thinking about the experience from beginning to end and what are the barriers that get in the way. So to piggyback on that, let's talk about the future and the art of the possible. So Joseph, you've been here at JCOD and you guys are transforming a space that in a way that's never really been done before. What would you say if you could scale nationally? What's one part that you're the most proud of or that you see as really working that you'd love to see scale?
I'm really proud of the work our community-based organizations do and the partnerships that they create with employers and with training providers, and really being able to have that kind of case conferencing model where they all talk to each other about the client. I think when talking about scalability, what I'm most excited about is partnering on a larger scale with organizations like SHRM to identify employers that are willing to take a chance. There's so much bias against hiring justice-involved individuals. I mean, even at the county level, we at JCOD, I think 25% of our staff have some kind of justice involvement, everything from IT to data to finance. But when I was in the Fair Chance memo meetings, there were people from departments who were talking about how afraid they were to hire the population, and that's crazy to me. We need to lead by example. And I think one thing that I'm really excited about with SHRM and with expanding our employer connection base is convincing people to take a chance. Because all it takes is one really great experience with someone who has lived experience, and they'll find that they are the hardest workers, the most loyal, the most willing to kind of go above and beyond everyone else. And so many people are afraid to take that risk. But I think with the amazing outcomes that our sector program has had, I think with really highlighting our mental health support services that our programs have, we're going to be able to really incentivize more employers to get on board with this and really be able to expand the different job opportunities that are available to the population.
It's great. So I have a question for you. I think I used the term justice impacted, but really is the correct term justice involved?
I think that's what we say is justice involved. I think there's a lot of different nomenclatures around that.
Because I feel like it's so important to use the right nomenclature and to understand it, and I want to make sure that I am doing it right and not offending anybody. So it sounded really beautiful the way that you said it, and I think those words matter. So I appreciate it, and I appreciate you guys letting me be vulnerable to ask those questions. Norma, what about you? What gives you hope right now? What do you look at happening across communities and counties that you're hopeful about?
I'm actually really hopeful that I have colleagues who are deep partners in thought and are using our own lived experience to really help guide, not business as usual, but business as I think people need, how they need government. And, I just want to say my work actually, I believe Care First starts with caring for children, making sure children have safe environments to play, to do homework, to explore creatively the art, sports, whatever they want to do and be. So I don't want to, just in this space, I always, we need to also think about mentorship should start when they're young, to seeing caring and loving, nurturing adults caring for them as they navigate the early years of adolescence. So I'm just, even in really, really tough times, I'm grateful for partnerships and for community, who I think is leading the way to really help us be more relevant in serving communities where they're at.
You'll never know the real impact that you're having, especially when you go, working with children, because it takes so many years. But I hope that you're carrying it in your heart, because it all makes such a difference. Candace, you too, you're doing such great work with youth and empowering them and giving them hope and the tools. What excites you about it?
Just being in this space, opportunities and platforms like this to share the work, collaborators and partners like these that I get to share this wonderful space with, that gives me hope. The possibility of more organizations like mine using their tools and leveraging and reaching their communities and doing the work, the possibilities of young people living out meaningful roles and opportunities in the entertainment industry that are going to pay them their weight, the possibilities of our systems revisiting how they enforce opportunities and give opportunities, and the possibility of our stages reflecting the diversity in artistry, that our background reflecting the diversity on our stages. That is what excites me.
And that also goes back to the different languages and the different populations. When you are able to share art with diversity, you can reach all of these different people that maybe will resonate with that culture.
Absolutely. And one last thing, I just look forward to the opportunity where the youth that we're serving are leading the programs like I am and no longer being served by the programs.
That's great. Mm-hmm. Kelly, what's one thing we can all do? What's one thing we can all do in our roles, our organizations, our networks to advance work, like the First Justice workforce stuff?
Yeah, I think one thing is like knowing that, just reflecting on that comment, like diversity is an economic asset. That also is just shown in the research, and there's no county more diverse than LA County, and LA County needs every single person that lives here to work here, to reinvest here, not only because the smallest businesses to the major industries need our people power. They need the 5 million workers and the 10 million residents here and the 1 million small businesses to run and be the powerhouse that we are globally. But we also need a workforce that reflects our marketplace, right? Like that improves the services that we deliver. Like we just talked about, having stories created in the arts, the media and entertainment field that reflect our constituency and the global constituency makes good art, and people want to buy that. Like that is just good business. And like you can say the same for healthcare, that you need a diverse provider network to support a diverse population because we see better patient care outcomes. This is just good business. And so I think everyone just needs, my takeaway is that everyone has a space in this economy and a really, really valuable space. And so where we can come together and partner and make sure that people have access and support and opportunity to lead and make choices for themselves, like that is the goal. And so I just wanted to make sure I shared that.
Thank you. All right, so we have just about 2 minutes left, and I'm going to take up every second of it. So about 30 seconds to each of you. If you could leave the audience, if you could leave everybody with one thing, one key takeaway, what would it be? And Joseph is like, don't start with me, please. Let's start with you, Kelly, and we'll go this way.
Okay, yes. One key takeaway, I would just say, like JCOD, we're a brand new department, Department of Economic Opportunity. Check us out. You can just Google or opportunity.lacounty.gov, get connected. One thing I didn't get to mention, but Candace is like a great example of this, is that a job isn't just working for someone else, it's working for yourself. And a department like ours can help entrepreneurs who want to start up and get connected and get contracts with the county, because you should get some of that purchasing power too.
Love it. Norma.
Love that. If you are a community-based organization, LA County Parks is providing safe spaces and free spaces for community-based organizations that provide free and affordable programming to youth. So if you serve youth, we will house you and provide you space in one of our 183 parks.
Awesome.
And if you are a youth or young person of diverse background or have young people in your network, or you have children or people who are interested in the live events, concert, music industry and want to gain access to it by way of just learning about the opportunities, even exploring careers in the industry, please reach out to me, liveoutlive.com. All over social platforms, all over the internet. You can find me. Look forward to connecting with you all.
I would say don't give up. That if you are in need or if you know someone who's in need, please reach out to any one of us here through our various websites or social media posts. We'll be able to connect you. Particularly want to plug right now that our next fire camp training starts in January, and we also have an all-female MC3 construction training cohort at our Calabasas site. So if you know of anyone who wants to live on campus for 10 weeks up to 9 months, depending on the program, please have them reach out to me.
Amazing. I also, Marjorie Morrison, I don't know how many of you are on LinkedIn, but please LinkedIn with me, connect with me, help me get smarter, brighter, fill me in with whatever you're doing, because it's always, I learn so much from all of you. Thank you all so much for sharing our time with us today. I do kind of feel this American Idol theme. I feel like we should be like breaking out in song, but I can't sing. But really want to thank JCOD and Together We Thrive. Thank you.
That's right.
Thank you, everyone.